Hello, students. I want to go over a few problems on the homework. Not the first two or three questions you'll have no problem with. You might have a little problem with question 50. You've got a cable, hold on. You've got a cable applying some tension on some teeth, and you're told that the cable, which is pictured here, let me get a little going all over the place. The cable is given by the letter T, but you're actually told the tension in the cable is 21 newtons right there. So this is what the picture looks like. There's another force in here, but we're going to leave it out because all they ask is what's the net force exerted on the tooth by these two forces, these two 21 Newton forces. You're given an angle of 16 degrees on both sides. And how do you add up two forces? Well, this is the old stuff. You add up the two forces, if they want to find the result of the two forces, with an XY table, just like you did on the quiz. So you have two forces, a left force and a right force, and use trigonometry. You'll use cosine for the X forces and sine for the Y forces. You'll add them all up. And that's how you do that one. Of course, then you'll get there'll be an X and a Y. And if you have an X and a Y, you use the Pythagorean theorem. If you only have a Y, then you'll just have the answer. It's only when you have two forces do you have to use two different XY forces do you have to use a Pythagorean theorem. So you could do that one. All right, 53 is definitely trickier. You have in 53, let me show you the picture. You have a bottle of wine, and it is sitting on a shelf that's 90 degrees. You can see the shelf is 90 degrees, and each part of the shelf exerts a force on the wine this way. So what does that look like? I'm going to give you the free body diagram. The question is, what force does each surface apply to the bottle? So I'll give you the free body diagram. This is an equilibrium problem. This is the new stuff. So it looks like this. The black dot is the bottle of wine. It has a weight force going down, and each piece of wood exerts a force of 45 degrees. Why 45 degrees? Because this is all 90, and so it's going to be 45 and 45. Now, you know that the key force is here, right? What we're interested in is the angle that the forces make with the horizontal. So obviously, if this is 45, this angle and here's, this angle from the horizontal would also be 45, and this would be 45 as well. So that's easy enough. So there's the free body diagram. This is in a state of equilibrium. Now, here's the tricky part. You just learned this. You're told that the mass of the wine is 1.40 kilogram. Whenever you see a mass and you're doing a force problem, you got to turn it into a weight, or what we call force of gravity. And Friday, you learned that in order to turn a mass into a weight and turn it into a force, technically you should multiply by 9.8 meters per second squared. But in AP, we can actually make our lives easier by rounding off 9.8 and saying it's 10. So 1.40 kilograms turns into let's make that 14.0 newtons. And there you go. So we've turned it into a weight, a force. When you're doing force problems, you got to turn all your masses into weights. So now we have a situation where we have two forces that we know are identical. F1 and F2 are identical because the angles are equal. This angle is 45 and that angle is 45. So these two forces are the same. This is only true when you're in a state of equilibrium. You see two forces that have the same angle, 45 degrees and 45 degrees. These two forces, F1 and F2, are actually the same. We could just call it F because it's the same. That's a good thing to do. And I'm not going to do everything for you, but what you do, because you have equilibrium, sum of the forces in the y direction equals 0. So you've got, well, maybe I'll start you out. Remember, we're going to call that F because they're the same. F sine 45 degrees. Remember, the up force is equal to down forces. Well, isn't it true we have two up forces? The vertical component of both forces are the up forces, and W is the down force, which we know is, what do? We took 1.4 and multiplied by 10, 14.0 newtons. So I think after that, you can get it. So let me go over this again because it's somewhat new. When you're given a mass, got to turn it into a force, which we did by by multiplying by 10 meters per second squared, the acceleration due to gravity on this planet. We, of course, we had this picture of the bottle with the, we're told that the two sides have a separation angle of, here it is, 90 degrees. So if we draw the dotted line, we can say that if this whole thing is 90, this must be 45 and 45, and the angle to the horizontal would also be 45 and 45. Now, I started you out, but it's just the the two up components, the two vertical components going up equal the down force, which is only W, and see if you can work that out. If you have any questions, send them to me. All right, so that's my little tip and little clue, little help on that problem there. So good luck on it.